They call it the wall. They say that women expire at 30. They actually moved it to 35 recently. And now we're in that month of the year. They call it the month of love, and you will hear a lot of, your age mates are getting married. Where's your husband? Lower your standards or you will never get a man. If you come from some other parts of the world, these are things that you hear on a daily basis, which I really don't understand, you know. And that's why in this video, I want to interrogate and really get to understand this phrase, women expire at 30. Women expire because they're running out of eggs. The biological clock is ticking. I mean, yeah, that is common sense. But I'm wondering why you're not very concerned about the fact that the fertilizer that men carry loses value with their age. And actually, the older a man is, the higher the chance that their offspring is susceptible to mental disorders and many other conditions. Did you also know that women that procreate with older men are always at a higher chance of getting miscarriages and bad pregnancies? But it's actually not just age. The health of a man also contributes to the health of a pregnancy. So instead of being obsessed with counting the eggs of women, maybe you should be looking at yourself. Are you even qualified to create a healthy offspring? Clearly not, because if you were of sound mind, you wouldn't be reducing women to baby making machines. So clearly you are the perfect example of a faulty sperm. Women expire at 30 because they've slept around with many men. And so what? I mean, they carry the consequences of their own decisions, whether good outcomes or bad outcomes. It's really astonishing why this bothers you. But wait a minute, why does a woman sleeping with a man reduce her value? Is a woman some kind of merchandise that you need to sell to the highest bidder? And even if we just stay with this kind of thought, if the equation is sleeping with a man equals lower value, it means that it's the men that are causing the low value. Therefore, women should stay away from men. But you also don't want women to stay away from men, because when they do so, you start crying about the male loneliness epidemic. You start condemning women who are child-free by choice and single by choice and saying they're responsible for the low birth rates in the world. You cry about women being too educated and how they need to be forced to go back to being in the home and taking care of children. Where are the traditional women, you say? You are so angry that women are earning more money. And you say that that is reducing your masculinity, because you really cannot keep up. You're constantly saying that women sleeping around is a problem, when what you really want is to control women's bodies. You want to have the sole say about what she can do with it. It's why you care about whether women can have a say in whether they keep their pregnancies or not. And yet when the child is born, you actually don't care for it, and you're the first person that says, she trapped me with this baby. So what is it that you really want? When women do whatever they want with their bodies, you say they're damaged goods. When women stay away from you because you're the ones that are reducing women's value, you say that women have too much freedom. Since you're the one that has a problem with everything that she is doing, you're clearly the problem. And maybe you should be focusing on learning to be an adult instead of contaminating the world with your lack of brain power. A woman expires at 30 because no man wants her. So maybe the man will want him. Has he tried that option? Or maybe he's living in denial, or he's busy trying to prey on teenage girls and telling them how the women his age are the problem. Well, it is he who is completely unwanted by women his age, because he cannot form a coherent sentence. He also cannot even manage his own feelings. Of course, he knows that with teenage girls, he just needs to brandish his little pennies and they'll come running like birds when they see some grain. Because poor teenage girls, they fall for peer pressure easily. They're always trying to keep up with the Jonases on social media, and they need money. So obviously, this 30-year-old man that doesn't want women his age, he's the only option, because he's marketing himself as an ATM. But you do realize, even for such kind of a man, the only reason why teenage girls are entertaining him, it's not because he has any kind of substance, but it's just because of money. Without that money, well, even the teenage girls wouldn't look his way. So a man that can't even look himself in the mirror, because when he does, he knows that even he doesn't want himself, is busy saying that no man wants a woman who has a fully developed brain, and you expect that to be an insult? If you think like this, I know it's very hard for you to grasp this, but when you admit that you are not willing to see women who are your age as human beings, you're just acknowledging that you are totally unusable in this wonderful planet. Women expire at 30 because they grow old. They have wrinkles. Can you imagine you're a woman with wrinkles? Imagine being so stupid that you blame women for following the natural order of life. I mean, if we all had an option to stop aging, to pause it, Of course, who wouldn't want to have supple skin forever? How is it that when men grow older, it's something to be celebrated, but when women do the same, which is natural, of course, somehow it becomes something to be admonished for? Are you listening to yourself? I'm so glad that I'm smart enough to recognize that life is not permanent, and I do not waste my time admonishing people for living when there are people who are literally dying every minute. At 28, I've lost a couple of acquaintances, so I know very well that life is very precious, and every day, every year, every minute is a literal celebration. And maybe if I live long enough, I will have some wrinkles. My body might not be in the best shape, but you know what? That is also going to be a celebration, because my own paternal grandmother and my own mother did not have this kind of experience. I will never be so stupid as to turn around and mock God for giving me the honor to be alive in this moment. So if you really think that women getting older is something to be admonished, something to be punished for, by all means, take yourself to the front lines of the wars that have been caused by the fragile egos of your fellow men, and expire yourself expeditiously so that you wouldn't have the displeasure of seeing women being human beings. I think I finally understand the meaning of this phrase, women expire by 30. Of course, if you're an adult with a sound mind, you know that this idea is extremely outdated and extremely ridiculous. If that were absolutely true, no one would bother telling this to women. But of course, this kind of thinking came about when men and the patriarchal society discovered that they need women for society to function, but they do not want to get to the high standards that women demand. So they decided to use scare tactics and a lot of fear to make a lot of women reduce their standards so that a lot of these men can actually have a chance of procreating. And obviously this tactic and strategy is not very new, because simply ask religion. They definitely know that women do not expire by 30, but they do know that the moment a woman gets to 30, they are not easily manipulated. That becomes really hard for them to convince her to lower her standards, because by then a lot of women know that they don't need to have children for them to have purpose in life. A lot of them recognize that they don't need to form partnership or companionship with a lot of men, because a lot of these men are just a liability in their lives. By this age, a lot of women listen to the stories of the women that are in their 50s and 60s, and they're able to actually see the reality of what life is like for women. And that's why it's not easy to manipulate them. If women were so useless, no one would be trying to convince women of their uselessness. So the next time you want to tell a woman that, oh, you expire by 30, just know that you are broadcasting to the entire world that hot air is your surname.